Hey everyone, welcome to Florida Writers Book Expo. It's been a fun morning interviewing authors and buying books. I've been checking out everybody's book pages and there's a lot of great stuff out there. So right now we have Diane Byington with us and I'm excited to be able to talk to her. We were just chatting in the green room and she's got some really cool books and I'm excited to hear about them and hear about more about Diane. So Diane Byington turned to writing fiction after a long career as a social worker. Both of her novels won first place in our RPLA awards. And so she divides her time between Dunedin, Florida and Boulder, Colorado. So welcome, Diane.
Thank you. It's so lovely to be here.
Awesome.
I wish we were in person, but hey, this is great.
I know, right? Maybe if you make it to the conference this year, maybe we can see each other in person.
Yeah.
Yeah. Last year, obviously, we had our conference virtual. It went well. And actually, in something like this is also a great opportunity to get people together while they're home. You don't have to travel and stuff. So it has its pluses and minuses, but
sure,
it's always great to see people in person too.
Yeah, I was there last year and I could not believe it when they read out my name. I just no, that just didn't even seem possible.
It didn't happen. I know. That's awesome. Well, congratulations again.
Thank you.
On your awards and on your books, and we're happy to have you here today. Great. So Diane, so we were, like I was mentioning earlier, we were chatting earlier in the green room, and I just love your book covers. I just, they just look attractive. They're really professional. So tell me a little bit. So what genre? So for those of us who are not familiar with your books, tell us a little bit about your genre and what these books are like.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so I write women's fiction, and this first book. I'm going to hold it up so people can see it.
Yay!
Along with a little sticker here.
Yeah.
It is called Who She Is, and it's about a Florida girl who wants to run the Boston Marathon. Only it's 1968 and women aren't allowed. And so she lives in Central Florida in what is sort of a fictionalized Mount Dora, if anybody is from there.
I was there this summer. It was great.
Anyway, so she's determined to go. And so the story takes place as she runs and starts having flashbacks of a different early life and maybe a different set of parents. And so there's kind of two storylines going on. One is about her preparing to run the marathon, and the other one is trying to figure out if her memories are false memories or not.
Awesome. So women's fiction, and you know what I love about your covers is they fit that genre perfectly. Like if you were to go in and see on Amazon or anything and look on like the literary fiction or contemporary fiction, women's fiction, you see that type of cover, and it sounds like an exciting book. So we do have a couple people in chat. So I just want to mention, if anybody, feel free to chime in with questions for Diane, and we'll try to get to them by the end of the interview. So I see we have Kathy Walsh, Ann is with us, and Nikki, who we interviewed earlier this morning. So yeah.
Hello, everybody.
We have a repeat, and I think she was here at the last one too. So I forgot to call her out, but that was great. So how did you start on your writing journey?
I had always wanted to be a writer, but I didn't know what to write, for one thing. Mm-hmm. And I didn't have time to write and all of that. So one day I just had this kind of inspiration. I was ready to give up writing, and I had this inspiration. It was like this voice from the clouds said, if not now, when? And I was like, oh, I know what this means. Okay, I will do that then. Yep. And so I sat down and spent 3 years writing a book that had also the plot had come to me at the same time. And after 3 years, I realized it was worthless. And like most authors do, their first book isn't very good. So I decided to go to school. That's what I do, is I go to school. So I went to an online program through Stanford that taught me how to write a book, and it was a novel writing course. And so that first book, Who She Is, came out of that. So
Ah,
that was great, and I loved it, and have been doing it ever since.
wow. So that's amazing. So the first book you wrote wasn't Who She Is.
No,
Okay, so it was yeah, 'cause we all tend to start something to your point, and then it's like, yeah, what was I thinking?
yeah.
But so that's interesting. So was the course, what did the course teach? Was it like plotting or dialogue or what was, or just
Yeah,
gave you confidence? What was?
it was a 2 year program.
Wow.
Yeah, with a quarterly classes, and so each one of them was a different thing, just like getting an MFA, only it was online, and it was quite a lot cheaper. You got a
Yeah.
certificate rather than a degree.
Wow. That's awesome. That's awesome. And out of that came your novel. Wow.
Yeah.
Excellent. Excellent. Um, so we were talking a little bit before, again, on the green room, that you started, you're real excited about your latest book,
Yeah.
that you, it kind of came to you and you've been working on it all year. So tell us a little bit about your latest work.
Okay, but you'll have to stop me because I could go on and on. Well, I adore Vincent Van Gogh. And this is a story about his last 70 days and
Mm,
in Auvers, France. And it's always been a mystery how he died, whether he killed himself or he was shot by somebody. He did die there from a gunshot wound.
mhm.
And so in my book, what happens is he has an affair with the proprietor of the inn, and her husband finds out about it. And therein lies the tale. So I worked really hard to get it consistent with what's known historically about his last days and the people involved. And
Mhm.
so it has been a real labor of love.
Wow. Wow. And how did that storyline come to you? Another inspiration.
No, there was no inspiration in this one. It was just in pieces. I had been reading his biography, and always before people had thought that he committed suicide, and his
Hmm.
newest biographer said, "Now we don't think that that's what the evidence shows.
Okay.
We think somebody killed him, and this is who we think it was."
Ooh.
And this is why. And so it had been very controversial. And so I started thinking, well, why would this guy kill him? What reason could he possibly have? He was a
Yeah.
harmless kook who lived in the area. And so um, that's kind of what I came up with over some time.
A little creative fiction thrown into
Yeah,
to
yeah, yeah.
real. Yeah, that's awesome. But when I was talking to NL Holmes this morning, she mentioned the same thing. You sort of have you have something real that you just sort of elaborate upon, and that kind of gives you the structure of your novel. So you took this course at Stanford, and they taught you all sorts of stuff. So I'm interested in your process and how you go about writing and planning your novels.
Oh, I think it depends on the novel. This Van Gogh one is my fourth novel. The third one will be coming out in a year, I suppose, soon anyway. And so each one is kind of different. I try and do an outline.
Okay.
I really do. I try and do an outline. And it always happens, no matter how detailed I get that outline, that
It just varies.
it changes. It changes no matter what I do.
Yeah.
So I work and I work and I work, and then I write what must be written, kind of.
Yeah. That's great. That's great. And, I asked this of all a lot of people that I interview because I struggle with the same thing. But I've been trying lately to outline, at least to sort of get that structure of what the story is.
Yeah.
But to your point, it's going to vary. But that's the creative process, right? As we write, we discover. I think that's you got to honor that whatever feels right.
So you're a pantser, Maura?
You know what? My other books were. My first book was pantsed, or as I say now, discovery writing. It's just sort of but late. So I'm working on a series now, and in that one, I'm really following an outline, and just because I wrote it. I wrote like 80,000 words of it and just sort of wrote myself into a corner. And I'm like,
yeah.
So now I'm like undoing it. And so sometimes planning that, but loosely enough, but planning it can give you at least the freedom to know where you're going to go with the story and be able to write to it. So you don't have that writer's block, like, all right, well, this is what this section should be about generally. So it's that kind of happy medium, I guess. But everybody has their own process. So I'm always interested to know how people do that. Now, do you use Scrivener or Word, or what do you write in?
Oh, Word. I can't do Scrivener. It just doesn't work for me.
Yeah. Some people either love it or hate it. I've tried it.
That's right.
But I did find, and I was mentioning earlier in another interview, a program called Plotter, Plottrr, and it's kind of like Scrivener, I guess. I'm not really familiar too much with Scrivener. Well, I am, but I don't use it. But it has those abilities to sort of track some of your stuff, like you can track character traits and even pictures, so you can kind of have inspiration on what your characters look like, and you can visualize your plot and move things around. So for that, I like it, but it's not a writing tool. You wouldn't write in it. It's just sort of to plot your book out.
Well, for me, I like to go as fast as possible on that first draft. This one, my second book, If She Had Stayed, I wrote during NaNoWriMo in November of one year, and didn't quite finish it in 30 days, but I did in another 2 weeks. So
nice.
And it really helps for me to write fast every day, as many hours as I can, because then I don't forget. I think forgetting where I am and what so-and-so looked like and all that is such a dangerous thing. And if I'm doing it fast, I don't forget.
That's a great point. That's a great point, because if you kind of start something and then you come back to it like even a week or so later, it's like, I wrote that. Oh, I forgot she had blonde hair or something. All these little details, and then you got to go back when you're editing and make sure everything's tying together. So, that's a great point. So, do you have a best time to write? Are you a morning writer or just any specific?
I usually start right after breakfast, and my plan is to write a scene. A scene. Now, sometimes that'll take me an hour, 2 hours, and then sometimes it'll take more than that. But I don't stop until I have written whatever is the next scene in the story.
Nice. And you said you write it sort of fast. You sort of just get it out on the page. You're not going back so much to try to edit it, or
no, not in that first draft. I mean, I do what's called a shitty first draft, and then go back and
that's a great. Someone once told me, get it written, don't get it right. at least for the first draft anyway, because
Yeah.
I find myself, I struggle, I'll start writing and it's like, oh, but wait, what if I did? And then I find myself editing. And it's like, well, oh, wait a minute. Do I want an ampersand there? I mean, do I want an M dash?
Oh, that'll take you forever to write a scene then.
Like, do I really want an M dash? Or it's like, oh, I'm done. Oh gosh, that's funny. What do you find the most exciting part of being an author?
Oh, gosh, holding my book in my hands is like the very best. I mean, nothing could be better than that. It makes all of the effort worthwhile. And realizing that people anywhere can read my books and, either like them or not, but at least read them and spend some hours enjoying themselves, hopefully.
Yeah, no, it's great. And on the opposite of that, what are some of the challenges?
Oh, the very worst thing is marketing. Now, talking to on interviews. I love talking to people. I would love to come to anybody's book groups or anybody's, anything. I love that part. That's my favorite part. But in terms of trying to think, okay, now what should I do next to market this book and how to learn all of the things? For example, I have yet to put out a newsletter.
Shame.
Don't tell anybody because I'm sure that one day I will. But it just is so daunting. So I do other things instead.
Yeah, you're not alone, and I think that's always the biggest challenge that I hear from authors is, they're creative. They don't want to get into the marketing side of it, and so that can be a challenge, especially if you're self-published. Well, in these days, even if you're not, because you're still if you're agented, and you have a good publisher. Knowing some of these basics of marketing things are so critical these days.
Oh, I want to tell you a little bit about my survey. My first book came out in 2018, and I was involved in a Facebook group called Authors 18. And so there were like 130 of us. And so I'm doing a survey of them. Now 4 years afterwards, and what is their publishing life like? And virtually every one of them says that the thing they were most surprised about was how much marketing they had to do. Now that was whether they were self-published or small publisher or medium publisher or even the big five. That was a surprise for them, and they've had to do that.
Yeah, no, that's a great point. So are you self-published or do you
I have a small publisher.
Small publisher. Yeah. Yeah, and it can be a challenge. It can definitely be a challenge. And something you just got to embrace, or just, part of the situation these days. So what's some advice you might give, Diane, to somebody who's new to the business, who wants to start writing? What would you say to them? What advice would you give them?
Don't be afraid to ask for help, whether it's school or a critique group or an editor, somebody to work with you, because it's really, really hard to do this on your own. It's one of those things that writing takes a great deal of skill and effort and practice.
Yeah.
And so just ask for help. There's a lot of help out there. There's a lot of conferences like this one, a lot of workshops. Just dive in and do your best and get as much help as you can.
That's great. That is great advice, because writers, we're alone all day just writing, and to be part of a group like Florida Writers or even some Facebook groups, to your point, like that you had mentioned, really helps you feel like you're part of a community, and you'll find or at least it's been my experience in finding other writers who are just really open to sharing ideas and building on newsletters, for instance, or helping each other sharing newsletters, doing marketing campaigns together, and just having somebody to talk to sometimes about the writing process or about the business aspects of it can be very helpful. Yeah.
Authors are incredibly generous people.
Yep. Yeah. I agree. I agree. What do you like to read? What are your favorite books?
Well, I'm a very I read just about anything, but mostly fiction.
Yeah.
Mostly fiction, and then of course I read in my genre, but so many other things, and I love to read the New York Times bestsellers and the things that are only on Amazon, and mysteries, and so just I always have a book in my hands.
Yeah, no, it's great, and it's great to have that sort of breadth of interests too, because it brings such a dynamic change to your writing, and instead of just reading in your genre, to really lay that out. So you got your book coming, or you just finished your book. So what's next for Diane Byington?
I'm not sure. I don't know. I mean, 4 books out, there's going to be quite a lot, and I'm really quite happy with that. And I also have, I self-published this year a book of short stories.
Oh, nice.
And I really have found myself enjoying short stories now after being so focused on the long form. The short form is drawing me, I think.
Nice. Well, maybe we'll see more of that at the Florida Writers Conference and some more of your books. This is awesome. Well, Diane, it's been a pleasure. I totally have enjoyed talking to you, and I just plug to your website. It was just on your website. I think it's Diane
Byington.
DianeByington.com. Yep, DianeByington.com, and you can see I'm looking at it right now. You got your books, If She Had Stayed, Who She Is, there with all the links you can get there. We can also check her out on her booth at the Florida Writers Expo page and buy one of her books.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Awesome. All right, Diane, it's been a pleasure talking to you.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Yeah, we'll see you soon.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, take care. Yep.